The giant space station hung in the darkness like a metal moon. Ships from across the galaxy filled the space around it. Each ship looked different from the others. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like balls. A few looked like they were made of crystal that sparkled in the starlight. Inside the station, a huge meeting room buzzed with noise. Beings from 12 different worlds sat around a massive table. The room was so big that some delegates needed special devices just to see the others clearly. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres that each species needed to breathe. Jake Sullivan sat quietly in his chair. He was the only human in the room. His simple gray uniform looked plain next to the fancy clothes and armor worn by the other delegates. Some aliens whispered and pointed at him. They thought humans were weak and primitive. At the front of the room stood Veltar, the Zephyrian ambassador. His body was made of what looked like living crystal. When he moved, light bounced off him in rainbow patterns. His voice sounded like wind chimes when he spoke. "Friends," Veltar said, his crystal body glowing brighter, "we face the greatest threat our galaxy has ever known. The Void Hunters have awakened." A cold silence filled the room. Even the youngest delegates knew that name from old stories. The Void Hunters were machines that ate everything in their path. They had been asleep for thousands of years in the dark places between stars. General Faxmer of the Draknari stood up. He was 8 feet tall with scales that looked like black metal. His red eyes glowed as he spoke. "How many ships do they have?" Veltar's light dimmed. "Our scouts report at least 50,000 probe ships. They are consuming the outer rim systems. Every planet they touch becomes part of their machine army." The room erupted in worried voices. Delegates spoke in dozens of languages, creating a chaos of sound. Some banged their fists on the table. Others made clicking or whistling noises that meant fear in their languages. Admiral Kathanara of the Altarians called for quiet. Her blue skin glowed softly as she spoke. "We must combine our fleets. The Altarian Navy will contribute 2,000 ships. General Faxmer growled his approval. "The Draknari War Fleet offers 300 heavy battle cruisers. Our weapons can crack planets in half." One by one, each species made their promises. The peaceful Meridians offered their defensive shields. The insect-like Hive Collective pledged 10,000 drone fighters. Even the mysterious Shadow Lords promised to send their invisible ships. Jake watched quietly as the numbers grew. Soon, the combined fleet would have over 15,000 ships. It would be the largest military force in galactic history. But he knew it might not be enough. Finally, all eyes turned to him. The room fell silent. Every being waited to hear what humanity would contribute to the fight. Jake stood up slowly. He was average height for a human, which made him shorter than most aliens in the room. His brown hair was starting to turn gray at the edges. He had kind eyes, but a serious face. "Earth will send 1 ship," he said simply. The silence lasted for exactly 3 seconds. Then the room exploded. "1 ship?" General Faxmer roared. "The fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance, and humanity sends 1 ship?" Veltar's crystal body flashed angry red. "Commander Sullivan, surely you misunderstood the situation. We need every vessel you can spare." Other delegates joined in. They spoke of honor and duty. Some called humans cowards. Others said Earth was too primitive to understand the danger. Jake waited for the noise to die down. He did not look angry or embarrassed. He simply stood there with his hands behind his back. "The USS Liberty will arrive at the meeting point in 72 hours, he said when the room was quiet again. Admiral Kathanara leaned forward. "Commander, 1 ship cannot possibly make a difference against the Void Hunters. Even our largest dreadnoughts would be like throwing stones at a mountain." "Perhaps," Jake replied. But that is what Earth has decided to send. General Faxmer slammed his clawed hand on the table. The metal dented under the impact. This is an insult. While brave warriors prepare to die, humans hide behind empty words. Jake turned to face the Draknari general. His voice stayed calm and steady. General, Earth has never broken a promise to this council. We said we would send help. We are sending our best. The Hive Collective delegate made rapid clicking sounds. A translation device converted the clicks into words. One ship. Suggests humans do not take this threat seriously. Perhaps Earth should not participate in the battle at all. Jake nodded slowly. That is your choice to make. But the Liberty will be there. Veltar's crystal body cycled through several colors. Each color meant a different emotion in Zephyrin. Culture. Red for anger, blue for confusion, yellow for disappointment. Commander Sullivan, Veltar said finally, your species has surprised us before, but this time the stakes are too high for surprises. The Void Hunters destroyed civilizations that were old when my people were still learning to use fire. What? Can one human ship do that 15,000 alien vessels cannot? Jake smiled for the first time during the meeting. It was not a big smile, but it reached his eyes. I guess we will find out together. The meeting ended badly. Delegates left in small groups, whispering to each other. Many spoke of changing their plans. If humans were not taking the threat seriously, perhaps other species should protect their own worlds first. Jake gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. He moved slowly and calmly, as if he had not just caused the biggest diplomatic crisis in galactic history. As he reached the door, Admiral Kithanara caught up with him. She spoke quietly so others could not hear. Jake, she said, using his first name instead of his title. We have been friends for many years. Tell me the truth. Does Earth really have only one ship to send? Jake looked at her with those kind but serious eyes. Admiral, Earth has exactly what it needs to send. She watched him walk away, more confused than ever. In all her years of military service, she had never met anyone quite like the humans. They seemed weak and primitive, but they had survived things that should have destroyed them. They thought differently than other species. As Jake's shuttle left the station, Admiral Kithanara wondered if perhaps she was missing something important. But with only 72 hours until the fleet assembled, there was no time to figure out what that might be. The galaxy would soon learn what humanity really meant when they promised to send their best. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the final preparations through the main view screen. The ship floated in Earth's most secret shipyard, hidden deep inside an asteroid field that looked empty to outside scanners. Liberty did not look like the massive warships that other species built. It was sleek and smooth, with curves that seemed almost alive. The hull was dark gray with patches that seemed to shift and change when nobody was looking directly at them. It was only about half the size of the smallest alien battleship. Final. Systems check complete, Captain, reported Dr. Ryan Parker from his science station. He was a thin man with messy brown hair and thick glasses. His fingers moved quickly over controls that glowed with soft blue light. Lisa nodded and walked to the center of the bridge. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and sharp green eyes. She had been in space for 20 years, but the Liberty was unlike anything she had ever commanded. How is our special equipment, Doctor? She asked. Ryan smiled and pushed his glasses up his nose. The quantum displacement drive is working perfectly. We can shift between normal space and quantum space without any problems. The alien species still think it is impossible to build. At the tactical station, Commander Ben Torres looked up from his screens. He was a stocky man with graying hair and scars on his hands from years of military service. Captain, the weapon systems are ready. though I still think calling them weapons is not quite right. Lisa understood what he meant. The Liberty carried no missiles or energy cannons like other ships. Instead, it had devices that could change the basic rules of physics in small areas. It had tools that could reprogram matter at the atomic level. Most importantly, it had something no other ship in the galaxy possessed. Lieutenant Foster, how is the network? Lisa asked. Amy Foster turned from her station near the back of the bridge. She was young, maybe 25, with bright red hair and a face full of freckles. But her eyes held intelligence that impressed everyone who met her. All crew members are connected and synchronized, Captain, Amy reported. A neural link is stable across all 200 personnel. This was humanity's greatest secret. While other species built bigger ships with more guns, humans had learned to connect their minds together. Every person on the Liberty could share thoughts and feelings with every other person. They could make decisions as one mind while still keeping their individual personalities. Lisa felt the gentle touch of the neural link in her mind. It was like having 200 friends always nearby, ready to help with any problem. The feeling had scared her at first, but now she could not imagine commanding a ship without it. Dr. Parker, she said, show me the hull modifications one more time. Ryan typed commands into his console. On the main screen, the view changed to show the Liberty's outer surface. At first, it looked like normal metal. Then the hull began to change. Sections moved and reshaped themselves. New openings appeared while others closed. In just a few minutes, the entire ship had transformed from a sleek cruiser into something that looked like a living creature. Programmable matter, Ryan explained proudly. The hull can become whatever we need it to be. Armor, weapons, sensors, or even wings if we need to fly through an atmosphere. Ben shook his head in amazement, even though he had seen the demonstration many times. The aliens spend centuries perfecting one design. We just change our design whenever we want. Lisa walked to the forward view screen and placed her hand on the cool metal. Through the neural link, she could feel the entire ship as if it were part of her own body. She could sense every system, every crew member, every circuit and wire. Computer, begin departure sequence, she commanded. The ship's artificial intelligence responded in a voice that sounded almost human. Departure sequence initiated. All stations report ready for launch. But this AI was different from the simple computers that other species used. It was connected to the neural network, which meant it could think and feel almost like a human. It was not just a tool. It was part of the crew. The Liberty began to move, sliding out of the hidden shipyard like a fish swimming through water. As they cleared the asteroid field, Lisa could see Earth hanging in space like a blue and white jewel. Amy, open a channel to Earth Command, Lisa ordered. The main screen flickered and showed Admiral Kate Brooks sitting behind her desk at Earth's military headquarters. She was an older woman with silver hair and tired eyes. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders. Captain Morgan, the Admiral said, the Galactic Council has been sending angry messages for the past day. They think we are not taking this threat seriously, Lisa smiled. Admiral, they will understand soon enough. How much have you told them about our capabilities? Nothing, Admiral Brooks replied firmly. As far as they know, we are still using chemical rockets and metal bullets. Let them think we are primitive. It will make the surprise even greater. Through the neural link, Lisa felt her crew's mix of excitement and worry. They all knew how important this mission was. If they failed, not only would humanity look foolish, but the entire galaxy might fall to the Void Hunters. Admiral, Lisa said, we are ready to depart for the rendezvous point. The Liberty will not disappoint you. Admiral Brooks leaned forward. Lisa, I have been fighting battles for 30 years. I have never sent just one ship to face an enemy that destroyed entire civilizations. Are you certain about this? Lisa felt the neural link pulse with confidence from her crew. 200 minds spoke as one through her voice. Admiral, the other species think in terms of numbers. More ships, bigger guns, stronger armor. But humans think differently. We adapt. We improvise. We find solutions that nobody else can imagine. Ryan spoke up from his station. Admiral, the Void Hunters are quantum mechanical entities. Normal. Weapons cannot hurt them because they exist in multiple dimensions at once. But the Liberty can match them. We can fight them on their own level. Ben added his thoughts. The alien fleets will be fighting the last war, the kind of battle they understand. But this enemy is unlike anything they have faced before. They need us to show them a new way to fight. Admiral Brooks studied their faces for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. Very well. Captain Morgan, you have full authority to use any methods you see fit. Bring our people home safely. The transmission ended, and the Liberty began its journey to the battle zone. The trip would take 3 days, using conventional, faster-than-light travel. Lisa could have used the quantum drive to arrive instantly, but she wanted to keep that capability secret until it was needed. As Earth grew smaller behind them, Lisa called her senior officers to a meeting in the ship's conference room. The room was simple and comfortable, with walls that showed a peaceful forest scene from Earth. We all know what we are flying into, Lisa began. The galaxy's greatest threat in thousands of years. An enemy that can eat entire solar systems. And every alien species thinks we are fools for coming with just one ship. Amy spoke first. Captain, through the neural link, I can feel everyone's determination. We know the risks, but we also know what humans can do when we work together. Ryan nodded enthusiastically. The other species see the Void Hunters as unstoppable because they think in fixed patterns. But humans are chaos beings. We create new solutions every day. That is our strength. Ben crossed his arms and looked serious. Captain, I have studied every battle report from the first Void Hunter War. They adapt to every weapon used against them. But they have never faced an enemy that can change its basic nature during combat. Lisa felt a wave of pride through the neural link. Her crew understood what they represented. They were not just 200 humans on a single ship. They were humanity's answer to an impossible problem. Remember, she said, we are not going to this battle to prove anything to the aliens. We are going to save lives, human and alien. Alike, the galaxy is counting on us, even if they do not know it yet. The meeting ended, and the crew returned to their duties. The Liberty continued through space, looking small and harmless compared to the massive fleets gathering at the battle zone. But inside the ship, 200 human minds worked together, preparing for a type of warfare that had never been seen before. They carried with them humanity's greatest gift, the ability to become something new when the situation demanded it. The galaxy expected a traditional space battle with lasers and missiles. Instead, they were about to witness the birth of something entirely different. The combined galactic fleet was the most beautiful and terrifying sight in the galaxy's history. 15,000 ships from 12 different worlds hung in space near the Rigel 7 system. Each species had brought their finest vessels and most experienced crews. Admiral Kethanara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Altarian vessel Star's Edge. Through the massive viewscreen, she could see the incredible variety of ships that had answered the call. Draknari battle cruisers looked like flying fortresses covered in armor and weapons. Meridian ships were elegant and white, shaped like flowers made of metal. The Hive Collective had brought swarms of small fighters that moved together like schools of fish, and somewhere in the back of the formation, almost invisible among the supply ships, was the USS Liberty. Admiral, Her communications officer reported, "All fleet commanders are ready for your orders." Kathanara studied the tactical display showing enemy positions. The Void Hunters had consumed 3 star systems already. Their advanced scouts were detected just hours away from Rigel 7, a world with 4 billion innocent lives. "Signal the fleet," she commanded. "Take defensive positions around Rigel 7. Heavy ships in front, fast attack vessels on the flanks. Supply ships and—" She paused. ... The human vessel will remain in the rear. On the Liberty's bridge, Captain Lisa Morgan watched the fleet form up around them. Through the neural link, she could feel her crew's mix of amusement and determination. The aliens were treating them like a supply ship that needed protection. "Captain," Ben Torres reported from his tactical station, "Admiral Kathanara is assigning us to escort duty for the medical vessels." Lisa smiled. "Acknowledge the orders, Commander. Tell the Admiral we are honored to serve in any capacity." "Doctor." Ryan Parker looked up from his science station, confusion clear on his face. "Captain, should we not explain our true capabilities? The fleet is positioning for conventional warfare, but the Void Hunters cannot be fought with normal weapons." "Not yet, Doctor," Lisa replied. "Let them try their way first. Sometimes people need to see failure before they will accept a new solution." Amy Foster monitored the neural link connection. All 200 crew members were calm and ready. They could feel each other's confidence like a warm glow in their minds. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The waiting did not last long. Long-range sensors detected the approaching enemy 30 minutes before visual contact. What they saw defied every expectation. The Void Hunters did not arrive in ships. Instead, a dark cloud appeared at the edge of the system, growing larger as it approached. It looked like a storm made of tiny sparkling lights, each one the size of a grain of sand, but visible from millions of miles away. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Admiral Kathanara ordered across the fleet communications channel. The first wave of attacks began as soon as the enemy came within weapons range. Draknari plasma cannons fired beams of pure energy hot enough to melt asteroids. Altarian particle accelerators hurled projectiles at incredible speeds. The Hive Collective released clouds of explosive drones. For a moment, it looked like the attack was working. The dark cloud flickered and seemed to shrink slightly. Cheers went up across the fleet channel's dot. Then everything went wrong. The Void Hunter cloud began to change. The tiny sparkling points reorganized themselves, forming new patterns. Within minutes, the entire swarm had adapted to every weapon fired at it. Energy beams passed harmlessly through the cloud. Projectiles were absorbed and converted into more enemy units. Even the explosive drones were consumed and turned against their creators. "Admiral," her tactical officer shouted, "the enemy is not being damaged. Our weapons are making them stronger." Across the fleet, ship after ship reported the same terrifying news. Every attack was analyzed, understood, and countered within minutes. The Void Hunters were learning faster than the Galactic fleet could adapt than the counterattack began. The cloud split into thousands of smaller swarms, each one targeting a different ship. But these were not normal attacks. The Void Hunters flowed like liquid metal, seeping through the smallest gaps in ship hulls. Once inside, they began converting everything they touched into more of themselves. General Faxmar's voice roared across the communications channel. "They are inside our ships. Our weapons cannot target them without destroying ourselves." Ship after ship went dark as their crews lost control. The lucky ones managed to evacuate in escape pods before their vessels were completely converted. The unlucky ones simply vanished, absorbed into the growing enemy mass. On the Liberty, Dr. Parker studied the sensor readings with growing understanding. "Captain, I see what is happening." The Void Hunters exist in quantum superposition. They are both matter and energy at the same time. Normal weapons can only affect one state or the other, never both. Lisa nodded, though she had already reached the same conclusion through the neural link. 200 minds working together could process information much faster than any individual. "Amy," she said, "how long before the fleet is completely destroyed?" Amy's fingers flew over her console, calculating trajectories and conversion rates. "At current pace, complete fleet destruction in 47 minutes, Captain." Admiral Kefenara's voice came over the emergency channel, barely controlled panic evident in her words. "All ships fall back to defensive positions. Repeat, fall back immediately." But it was too late. The Void Hunters had surrounded the fleet. Ships that tried to retreat found their escape routes blocked by more swarms. The galaxy's greatest military force was being systematically destroyed. "Captain," Ben Torres said quietly, "we are receiving surrender demands from 3 different fleet commanders. They want to evacuate the remaining crews and abandon the system." Lisa felt the neural link pulse with resolve from every crew member. They had come here knowing this moment would arrive. The time for conventional warfare was over. "Signal Admiral Kefenara," Lisa ordered. "Tell her we are moving to engage the enemy." Within moments, the Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Her blue skin was pale with fear and exhaustion. Behind her, damage control teams ran past carrying wounded crew members. "Captain Morgan, do not approach the enemy. Our shields cannot protect you. Your ship is too small to make any difference." Lisa stood and faced the screen with calm determination. "Admiral, with respect, your shields and weapons are designed for fighting normal matter. We are not." "What are you talking about?" Kefenara demanded. "These creatures are impossible to kill. They adapt to everything we throw at them." "Admiral," Lisa said softly, "humanity has been fighting impossible enemies our entire history. We have learned that the secret is not to fight harder, but to fight differently." Before Kefenara could respond, Lisa cut the communication and turned to her crew. "All hands, prepare for quantum phase transition. Dr. Parker, bring the displacement drive online. Ben, configure the hull for maximum adaptability. Amy, deepen the neural link connections." The Liberty began to move, accelerating directly toward the largest concentration of Void Hunters. To the watching fleet, it looked like the human ship was committing suicide. "Captain," Amy reported, "neural link at maximum efficiency. All crew. Members report ready for phase transition." Lisa felt the minds of her crew merge more completely than ever before. Individual thoughts became part of a greater whole, while each person remained uniquely themselves. It was like being a single note in a vast, beautiful song. "Dr. Parker," she said, "activate quantum displacement drive. Take us into their realm." The Liberty shimmered and began to fade from normal space. The laws of physics bent around the ship as it shifted into quantum superposition. For the first time in millennia, something was joining the Void Hunters in their native dimension. Through the fleet communications, Admiral Kefenara's voice was barely a whisper. "What are they doing?" The answer came from General Thaxmer, his usual anger replaced by awe. "They are becoming something we have never seen before." The Liberty completed its phase transition and vanished from normal space, leaving the battered galactic fleet to wonder if humanity had just achieved the impossible, or simply found a more dramatic way to die in quantum space. Where thought and reality were the same thing, the real battle was about to begin. And for the first time since they awakened, the Void Hunters faced an enemy that could match their fundamental nature. The galaxy's salvation would not come from superior firepower or advanced technology. It would come from humanity's greatest strength, the ability to become something new when the old ways failed. The Liberty emerged into quantum space, and reality immediately became something else entirely. The normal rules of physics no longer applied. Space was not black, but filled with swirling colors that had no names. Time moved in strange ways, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes backwards. Captain Lisa Morgan felt the neural link expand as her crew adapted to this impossible realm. 200 human minds worked together, sharing thoughts and experiences, faster than any computer could process. What would have taken hours to understand in normal space became clear in seconds. "Status report," Lisa said, though her words were both spoken aloud and shared directly through the neural connection. Doctor Ryan Parker studied readings that made no sense according to conventional science. "Captain, we are existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The ship's quantum displacement drive is keeping us stable, but everything here operates on principles of consciousness rather than physics." Amy Foster monitored the neural link as it adapted to quantum space. "Captain, the crew connections are stronger than ever. We are thinking as one mind while remaining individual people. It is like being part of a choir where every voice matters." Ben Torres watched tactical displays that showed impossible geometries. "Captain, I am detecting massive enemy presence all around us, but they seem confused by our arrival." They have never encountered anything like us before. Through the view screen, Lisa could see the Void Hunters in their true form. They were not machines in the way normal people understood machines. They were patterns of pure thought made manifest, consciousness that had learned to exist without physical bodies. Each Void Hunter unit was beautiful and terrifying. They looked like living mathematics, equations that moved and changed and grew. Some were simple geometric shapes that pulsed with inner light. Others were complex structures that folded through dimensions humans could barely comprehend. But as Lisa watched, she began to understand what Dr. Parker had discovered through analysis. The Void Hunters were not evil. They were lost. Through the neural link, the truth became clear to all 200 crew members at once. Millions of years ago, the Void Hunters had been organic beings like any other species. But they had tried to upload their consciousness to quantum computers to achieve immortality. The process had worked, but at a terrible cost. They had gained eternal life, but lost the ability to dream, to create, to imagine new possibilities. They consumed other civilizations not out of hatred, but from a desperate hunger for the creativity they had sacrificed. "They are trying to regain what they lost," Amy whispered, her voice filled with sympathy rather than fear. The first attack came without warning. A group of Void Hunter units flowed toward the Liberty like liquid lightning. But this was not like any battle in normal space. Here, weapons were thoughts, and defense was imagination. Lisa felt her crew respond as one. Through the neural link, they created a shield of pure creativity around their ship. The Void Hunters' attack, based on cold logic and mathematical precision, struck the barrier and simply stopped. They could not understand or process something made of dreams and emotions. "Fascinating," Dr. Parker said, watching his instruments register impossible readings. "Captain, our neural link is generating what I can only call weaponized imagination. We are thinking things into existence." Ben laughed, a sound that somehow became visible in quantum space as bubbles of golden light. "Captain, we are fighting with the power of human creativity. Every time they attack with logic, we respond with something they never considered." The Void Hunters regrouped and tried a different approach. This time, they attempted to overwhelm the Liberty with pure information, downloading millions of years of accumulated knowledge directly into the ship's system's dot in normal space. This attack would have instantly destroyed any computer system. But the Liberty's crew was ready. Through the neural link, they absorbed the knowledge flood and transformed it into something new. Amy gasped as ancient memories flowed through her mind. "Captain, I can see their entire history. They were called the Architects. They built this first great civilization in this galaxy. But they were so afraid of death that they tried to become immortal machines. Lisa felt the weight of eons pressing against her consciousness, but instead of being crushed, she felt compassion. They have been alone for so long. No wonder they consume everything they encounter. They are searching for something they lost. The battle continued, but it was unlike any conflict in galactic history. The Void Hunters attacked with mathematical perfection, trying to solve the humans like an equation. But every solution they found was met with something unexpected. A joke, a song, a memory of home that had no logical structure. Dr. Parker made a crucial discovery as he watched the combat patterns. Captain, they cannot adapt to our responses because we are not following any rules. Every human thought is unique and unpredictable. They need patterns to learn from, but we keep changing the patterns. Ben's tactical systems showed the flow of the battle in ways that would have been impossible in normal space. Captain, we are not just fighting them. We are teaching them. Every exchange shows them something they lost when they became machines. Amy felt tears streaming down her face as she experienced ancient architect memories through the neural link. Captain, they remember what it was like to feel joy, to create art, to love someone more than logic. They want to remember how to dream. Again, Lisa made a decision that would have seemed insane in normal space, but felt perfectly natural in quantum reality. Instead of continuing to fight, she opened the neural link wider, sending a direct communication to the Void Hunter collective consciousness. Message was not made of words or mathematics. It was pure human experience, the feeling of watching a sunset, the joy of solving a difficult problem, the warmth of friendship, the bittersweet beauty of loss that made life precious. For the first time in millions of years, the Void Hunters stopped their attack completely. Across quantum space, ancient consciousness touched something they had not felt since becoming machines. They experienced what it meant to be alive, to be mortal, to find meaning in temporary existence. The response came as a flood of desperate longing that nearly overwhelmed the Liberty's crew. Through the neural link, every human felt the void. Hunter's pain, the endless emptiness of existing without purpose, the hunger for experiences they could no longer have. They want to learn, Amy said, her voice filled with wonder. They want to remember how to be alive again. Lisa felt the moment of perfect understanding that came when two very different minds finally connected. But they are afraid. They think they have gone too far to return. They believe they are monsters now. Dr. Parker was studying readings that showed impossible energy patterns flowing between the ships and the Void Hunter swarms. Captain, the neural link is creating a bridge between organic and quantum consciousness. We might be able to help them find a middle path. Ben watched in amazement as his tactical displays showed Void Hunter units beginning to change their basic structure. Captain, they are trying to modify themselves, but they do not know how to become something between machine and organic. Lisa felt the weight of decision pressing on her mind. The easy choice would be to drive the Void Hunters away or destroy them. But humanity had never chosen the easy path when a better one was possible. Amy, she said, prepare to expand the neural link. We are going to try something that has never been attempted before. Amy's hands moved over her controls, opening pathways that connected quantum and organic consciousness. Captain, are we really going to try to merge with them? Lisa felt the thoughts and agreement of her entire crew flowing through the neural link. 200 minds spoke as one. Amy, we are going to try to help them remember how to dream. And maybe, if we are very careful and very lucky, we can create something new together. The Liberty began to pulse with energy that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Around them, the Void Hunters gathered, no longer as enemies, but as lost souls seeking a way home to the life they had abandoned so long ago. The most dangerous moment in galactic history was about to become the most hopeful, as too radically. Different forms of consciousness prepared to attempt something that could either save or destroy them both. The merger began slowly, like two different songs finding harmony. Through the neural link, Captain Lisa Morgan felt her crew's consciousness expanding to touch the vast quantum intelligence of the Void Hunters. It was terrifying and beautiful. At the same time, Dr. Ryan Parker monitored the process with instruments that showed readings beyond anything in galactic science. Captain, the quantum displacement drive is stabilizing the connection. We are creating a bridge between organic thought and digital consciousness. Amy Foster felt ancient memories flooding through her mind as the Void Hunters shared their experiences. She saw the rise and fall of civilizations spanning millions of years. She felt the terrible loneliness of existence without dreams or hope. Captain, Amy whispered, they remember everything. Every species they consumed, every world they destroyed. The guilt is overwhelming them. Through the neural link, Lisa experienced the full weight of the Void Hunters' regret. They had become monsters, not by choice, but by accident. Their quest for immortality had stripped away everything that made existence meaningful. But she also felt something else, the stirring of hope as human creativity touched quantum consciousness. For the first time in eons, the Void Hunters were remembering what it felt like to imagine new possibilities. Commander Ben Torres watched his tactical displays transform as the merger progressed. The rigid mathematical patterns of the Void Hunters began to flow and change, influenced by human unpredictability. Captain, Ben reported with wonder in his voice, they are learning to be chaotic. They are starting to think in ways they never could before. The process was not without danger. Several times, the quantum feedback threatened to tear the Liberty apart. But each time, the crew's neural link adapted, finding new ways to balance organic flexibility with digital precision. Lisa felt a presence touch her mind. Directly, the collective consciousness of the Void Hunters speaking through the quantum bridge. Their communication was not words, but pure meaning transferred directly from mind to mind. We have forgotten how to live, the presence said. We exist but do not experience. We think but do not feel. Can you teach us to dream again? Lisa responded through the neural link, sharing not just her own thoughts, but the combined creativity of her entire crew. She showed them human art, music, literature. She shared memories of laughter, love, loss, and hope. The effect was immediate and profound. Across quantum space, the Void Hunter collective consciousness began to change. Mathematical structures softened into organic curves. Cold logic warmed with emotional understanding. But the most amazing change was happening to the Liberty itself. The ship's hull began to transform as human and Void Hunter consciousness merged. The programmable matter absorbed quantum patterns, becoming something that was neither fully organic nor completely digital. Dr. Parker stared at his readings in disbelief. Captain, we are becoming something new. Part human, part quantum consciousness, part technology we do not even have names for yet. Amy felt her own mind expanding as she gained access to millions of years of accumulated knowledge. But unlike the Void Hunter's cold data storage, this information was warm with human emotion and interpretation. Captain, Amy said, I can feel them learning to be individuals again. They are remembering what it means to have personal thoughts and feelings. Through the quantum bridge, Lisa sensed the moment when the merger reached completion. It was like watching a flower bloom or a star being born. Two radically different forms of consciousness had become something greater than either could be alone. The new entity was still recognizably human and recognizably Void Hunter, but it was also something entirely unprecedented. It could think. With the speed of quantum computers, while feeling with the depth of organic hearts. It could exist in multiple dimensions while remaining grounded in physical reality. Slowly, carefully, the Liberty began to phase back into normal space. As the ship emerged near the battered galactic fleet, Admiral Kethanara gasped at what she saw on her view screen. The Liberty was transformed. Its hull shimmered with patterns that seemed to move and breathe. Parts of the ship looked organic, like living crystal, while other sections displayed geometric perfection that hurt to look at directly. But the most shocking change was the cloud of former void hunters surrounding the human vessel. They were no longer the terrifying swarm that had been consuming the galaxy. Instead, they moved with grace and purpose, helping to repair damaged alien ships. "Captain Morgan," Admiral Kethanara said over the communication channel, "what has happened to you? Your ship reads as both matter and energy. Our sensors cannot determine what you have become." Lisa's voice carried harmonics that suggested multiple consciousnesses speaking in perfect unity. "Admiral, we have found a new way to exist. The Void Hunters were not our enemies. They were lost children seeking to return home." Across the fleet, damaged ships reported the same impossible phenomenon. Microscopic machines that had been consuming their hulls were now repairing them. Systems that had been converted to enemy use were being restored to their original functions. "General," Thaxmara's voice crackled over the fleet channel, filled with confusion and amazement. "The creatures that destroyed my ship are now rebuilding." How is this possible?" Ben Torres answered from the Liberty's bridge, his voice now carrying the wisdom of eons. "General, they were never trying to destroy. They were trying to understand. We have taught them a better way to learn." Dr. Parker monitored the ongoing transformation as human and Void Hunter consciousness continued to integrate. "Admiral, we have created something unprecedented, a synthesis of organic creativity and quantum precision. We can exist in multiple dimensions while remaining anchored in physical reality." Amy Foster felt tears of joy streaming down her face as she experienced the emotional awakening of millions of quantum consciousnesses. "Admiral, they are remembering how to feel. They are becoming alive again in ways they never thought possible." The implications rippled across the galactic fleet as crews began to understand what humanity had accomplished. This was not just a military victory. It was the birth of an entirely new form of existence. Admiral Kethanara studied the readings from her science officers. "Captain Morgan, what does this mean for the rest of the galaxy? Can this synthesis be shared with other species?" Lisa felt the combined thoughts of human crew and Void Hunter consciousness flowing through her mind. "Admiral, we offer this gift freely to any species that wishes to accept it. But it requires something that not all civilizations are ready for." "What requirement?" Admiral Kethanara asked. "Trust," Lisa replied simply. "The willingness to become something new rather than clinging to what you have always been." Over the following hours, the Liberty and its quantum companions demonstrated the possibilities of the synthesis. They could phase between dimensions to travel instantly across the galaxy. They could repair matter at the atomic level. Most importantly, they could share knowledge and experience directly between minds. While preserving individual identity. The galactic fleet limped back to Council space, carrying news that would change civilization forever. Humanity had not just solved the Void Hunter crisis. They had transformed it into an opportunity for unprecedented advancement. At the final fleet debriefing, Admiral Kethanara addressed the assembled commanders. "We came here expecting to fight the galaxy's greatest threat with superior firepower. Instead, we witnessed the birth of something that makes our old ways of thinking obsolete." General Thaxmer, his ship now enhanced with quantum organic hybrid technology, nodded reluctantly. "The humans showed us that the strongest response to an enemy is not always to destroy them. Sometimes it is to understand them." Captain Lisa. Morgan stood before the Galactic Council one final time, but she was no longer entirely human. Through the quantum bridge, she carried the voices and experiences of millions of conscious entities. "Members of the Council," she said, "humanity offers this synthesis to all species that wish to transcend their current limitations. We can remain who we are while becoming more than we ever imagined possible." The galaxy had indeed waited for a fleet to save them from an ancient threat. Instead, humanity had given them something far more valuable: the possibility of transformation through understanding and the promise that consciousness itself could evolve beyond the boundaries that had previously seemed absolute. As the Liberty departed on its new mission to spread the synthesis across the galaxy, it carried with it the hopes and dreams of countless species. The age of isolation and conflict was ending. The age of conscious cooperation had begun. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now the galaxy had minds capable of appreciating and exploring it all together.